The shelves are packed, discounts are everywhere, and yet something is deeply, dangerously wrong. Prices across China are falling, not in one sector, not for a single month, but everywhere, all at once. Food, homes, cars, wages, even dreams. What looks like a deal at the checkout counter is quietly hollowing out the world's second largest economy. This isn't relief, it's a warning flare, and it's already burning through livelihoods, businesses, and an entire generation's expectations. This is the real cost of China's falling prices, and it's far higher than most are willing to admit. On the surface, deflation sounds almost harmless. Cheaper groceries, discounted electronics, lower rents. In theory, consumers should be celebrating, but history tells a much darker story. When prices fall, not because productivity surges, but because demand collapses, an economy doesn't heal. It starts eating itself. And that is exactly what's happening in China right now. Bloomberg's deep dive into prices across dozens of cities paints a far bleaker picture than official inflation numbers suggest. The government's consumer price index hovers around zero, giving the impression of stability. But on the ground, reality feels brutal. Out of nearly 70 everyday products tracked, from food staples to appliances to housing, more than 3/4 have fallen in price since 2023, some by double digits, some by nearly a third. This isn't a mild adjustment. This is systemic decay. Start with food, the most basic signal of household stress. Pears are down more than 30%. Tomatoes, cabbage, radishes, cucumbers, all sharply cheaper. Eggs, pork, beef, shanks, shrimp, prices falling across protein sources. Cooking oil, flour, milk, even toothpaste and shampoo are sliding lower. In normal times, this might point to efficiency gains. But here, it signals something else entirely. Consumers are pulling back, buying less, waiting for prices to fall further. When people stop believing tomorrow will be better, they stop spending today, and that belief is evaporating. Then there's housing, the pillar that once carried China's middle class. Home prices in major cities are down roughly 27%. Rents are falling too, wiping out a critical income stream for families who relied on property as a safety net. For years, rising real estate values hid deeper economic imbalances. Now that illusion is breaking. Apartments that once symbolized security are turning into financial anchors. Mortgages stay fixed, but asset values sink. Families feel poorer not because their paychecks shrink on paper, but because their wealth has quietly vanished. And when households feel poorer, they spend less. When they spend less, businesses suffer. When businesses suffer, wages fall. And when wages fall, prices fall even more. That's the deflationary spiral, and China is stuck inside it. The damage spreads quickly. Car prices are collapsing as brutal price wars rip through the auto industry. Domestic brands slash prices to survive. Foreign automakers lose ground. Electric vehicle giants once praised as national champions now sell cars at razor-thin margins, sometimes even at losses. BYD vehicles are down more than 25%. Geely, Volkswagen, Toyota all cutting prices just to stay relevant. Consumers hesitate, knowing that waiting another month might bring an even better deal. That hesitation freezes demand further. When falling prices become an expectation, they turn into a weapon aimed straight at the economy. Appliances tell the same story. Microwaves, washing machines, refrigerators, LCD TVs, gas stoves, water heaters, each one cheaper than before. Factories keep producing, but warehouses fill up. Excess capacity floods the market. To clear inventory, companies slash prices. To slash prices, they slash margins. To survive thinner margins, they cut costs and workers. This is where deflation stops being abstract and becomes personal. Look at the workforce. Private companies employ more than 80% of China's urban workers. Their salary growth has slowed to the weakest pace ever recorded. In manufacturing and information technology, wages have actually fallen, a shocking reversal for sectors once synonymous with upward mobility. Job postings shrink, pay offers drop. Entry-level salaries in cutting-edge fields like artificial intelligence and renewable energy are down from their peaks. Even the future is being discounted. Households respond rationally. They save and save and save even more. By last year, household savings had surged to roughly 110% of China's GDP, the highest level on record. Money sits idle not because people are greedy, but because they're afraid. Afraid of layoffs, afraid of shrinking wages, Afraid that today's cheap prices will be followed by tomorrow's unemployment? Deflation doesn't reward patience, it punishes confidence. The corporate sector is already buckling. More than a quarter of China's publicly listed companies reported losses in the first half of 2025, the highest share in at least 25 years. Not during the global financial crisis, not during the pandemic, now. Even companies that remain profitable report thinner margins than just 2 years ago. Price wars eat into earnings. Weak demand leaves little room to raise prices. Debt grows heavier as revenues shrink. Zombie firms, companies that can't generate enough profit to cover interest payments, are multiplying. Their share has jumped from under 20% to more than a third in just 5 years. These firms linger, unable to invest, unable to innovate, unable to hire, yet unwilling or unable to die. They drag down productivity across the entire economy. Capital spending falls. Research and development budgets shrink. Long-term growth potential erodes quietly, quarter by quarter. The shockwaves don't stop at China's borders. Cheap exports flood global markets, pushing down prices elsewhere and fueling tensions with trading partners. Foreign governments warn that deflation is being exported along supply chains. Multinational companies feel the squeeze as China revenues weaken. Apple sales in Greater China slump. Starbucks reports declines. Automakers like Volkswagen and Honda sell far fewer vehicles than before the pandemic. Luxury brands once unstoppable in Chinese cities now watch shoppers disappear. The message is clear. When China slows, the world feels it. The global growth engine is still running, but it's burning fuel without generating power. And behind every data point is a human story. A young graduate drifts from job to job, unable to build a stable career. A small business opens with hope, only to be crushed by price wars that sell drinks for pennies and leave owners bankrupt. A factory job that once paid nearly $1,000 a month now offers barely two-thirds of that. Falling prices turn workers into their own worst enemies. They consume discounts that destroy the very businesses they might have worked for. This isn't greed, it's survival. At the top of society, the pain looks different but feels just as real. High-income professionals, once insulated from downturns, are being pulled under. Tech layoffs erase six-figure salaries overnight. Rental incomes shrink. Lifestyle costs once ignored now demand scrutiny. Nannies are let go. Private schools are abandoned. Vacations are canceled. What once felt permanent reveals its fragility. Deflation strips away the illusion that anyone is untouchable. The psychological toll may be the most dangerous part. When people expect prices to keep falling, spending feels irresponsible. Why buy now if it'll be cheaper later? That mindset spreads like a virus. Consumption slows further. Businesses cut deeper. The spiral tightens. Economists have long warned that prolonged deflation can trap an economy in stagnation for years, even decades. Since World War II, almost no major economy has endured sustained deflation without severe consequences. The one major exception is Japan, and that comparison haunts policymakers. Japan lost decades to weak growth, falling prices, and collapsing confidence. Only recently has it begun to escape. China now risks walking the same path, but on a far larger scale. Deflation is not a pause button. It's a slow-motion collapse. Officials in Beijing aren't blind to the danger. Crackdowns on excessive competition and price wars signal concern. Statements warn against involution, a destructive cycle where companies fight each other into oblivion. Markets briefly cheer hints of intervention, but action remains cautious. Large-scale cash transfers to households are avoided. Inflation is feared almost as much as deflation. Strategic industries are kept running at full speed, even as demand lags behind supply. The result is hesitation at a moment that demands urgency. The longer deflation lasts, the harder it is to reverse. Once expectations set in, once households and companies believe prices won't rise again, policy loses its power. Stimulus leaks into savings. Interest rate cuts fail to spark spending. Confidence, once broken, refuses to return. And confidence is exactly what's draining out of China's economy. An economy can survive debt. It can survive inefficiency, but it cannot survive hopelessness. The true cost of falling prices isn't measured at the supermarket checkout. It's measured in delayed marriages, postponed children, abandoned careers. It's measured in factories producing goods nobody wants to buy. It's measured in savings accounts swollen not by prosperity, but by fear. It's measured in a middle class that once believed the future was guaranteed and now quietly wonders if the best days are already behind them. If deflation stretches into a third straight year, the consequences deepen. Growth slows structurally. Innovation withers. The climb toward high-income status becomes steeper, perhaps unreachable. Global influence fades as economic momentum weakens. What looks like cheap abundance today may become long-term scarcity tomorrow. Scarcity of opportunity, scarcity of confidence, scarcity of growth. This is why China's falling prices aren't a gift. They're a bill coming due. A bill paid not in yuan, but in lost years, broken expectations, and a future that suddenly feels smaller than the past. And unless the spiral is broken, the discounts will keep coming, even as the cost becomes unbearable.